Hi, I'm Lars from Leader Insider, and welcome to this new episode from the Golden Nugget Show. And in the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to present you the greatest insights I personally got from the book called The 1 Minute Manager from Kenneth H. Blanchard. So, without needing to read through the whole thing, I know there are many summaries out there talking about the strategies and tactics and presenting what the book's about, but most of the time I notice they present so many unuseful stuff you can get just by reading the summary up front, and this is what's free available. But those insights that they miss out most of the time because hey, let's face it as it is, they're just reporter that want to make a post, but they're not into this actual stuff they teach and how to use it. So don't forget, at the end I'll give you a secret link, and so that you can stay tuned, that where you can download the free PDF file I'm going to present you here. So there are many distractions, like a mobile phone that constantly seeks your attention. So like me, throw it away. But not if you're actually watching this on your mobile phone. Then you should stay there. You think to yourself, hey, why should I watch this show instead of reading or instead of looking for another summary and so on? First of all, how I'm digesting books is pretty simple. It's like in the first run, I'm reading through a book, I mark everything, and on the second, third, and fourth run, everything that's interesting still gets an asterisk. So here I'm going to present you everything that got three asterisks, that in my development right now is the most important crucial stuff from these books. The second thing is about the 80-20 principles. Not everything you read in the book is a gem. So most of the time, in 20% of the time, you get 80% of the results for these efforts. So I really want to get to the point of these insights and then explain in a short manner what they are about, so you can save your time instead of reading through the whole book. Last but not least, I personally believe that knowledge is not power. Knowledge is, knowledge is only the potential of power. Execution, on the other hand, triumphs over knowledge every single day of the week. So ask yourself, how can I use this stuff? Like instantly, like right now. How can I implement it? And the thing I personally ask myself, like every time I read such um, great books, is like, if I'm sitting at 80 years old in my rocking chair, would I regret not doing it? Or would I forgot about it? And if I would regret it, I do it right now. At least something that will get me follow through, like writing it into my daily schedule, my daily planner, so that I once um, uh, knocked up about everything that happens in my life, I once a week go, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how my next steps are going to be to improve my life, even for the better. So let's get started right into it. The 1 Minute Manager. I don't. It's funny written because it's like a story. It's like an interviewer comes to Kenneth Blanchard's management and wants to learn how he manages his people, and then he's going to interview every single one of them. I don't think much at all of being involved in my employees' decision making. So this is really important, and most of the areas when you start getting employees, you either overmanage or undermanage. So it's another thing Ray Dalio wrote in his book, that you either micromanage, for example, you tell them especially what they do and why and everything, or they don't manage at all. It's like, hey, just do this, just make marketing, and I don't care about anything else. So you need to find the sweet spot in between. And he says, okay, I don't want to be involved in decision making. So other things that are important, like showing a direction. How else can I get results if not through people? It's a great question. We all need to ask ourselves, hey, why do I have built this machine, my business, to create value for other people? Okay, the first thing to create value is to get people on board that have the same vision, that same goals for business or for their expertise, that can get you through these challenges to get results. I mean, even faster. They might be better than you. Hire people that are better than you. They've asked me once, but twice, to take a simple decision for them. Frankly, that bothers me. Never asked me to say something twice. So what he really means by this is that he really does not like that they can decide for themselves a simple decision. And the worst part of it is that it was a real simple decision, like he noted, like, hey, what should I eat today? It's a simple decision. Something that's healthy. To give you a clue. And what bothers him the most is that he asked twice. He states here, because hey, if I have this simple decision and I need somebody to ask repeatedly to give me an answer, and the first time he doesn't want to give me an answer, then I have to ask a second time. Why should I even bother being with this type of guy that can't even do this simple decision? The 1 minute manager always makes it clear with what our responsibilities are and what we are responsible for. It's like management 101. Hey, I need someone to be responsible for a specific task, and not go in the who or they statement, these, hey, we are responsible for this. No, one person is responsible. It's like I'm currently working in a startup house where they have three leaders, I would say, three people that are the head of the corporation. And the problem is no one feels responsible for anything, because everyone is responsible for anything. So make it explicitly clear. No surprises. Everyone knows from the beginning what is expected. So make it goddamn clear. Go into detail, go into specificity. What do you expect from this thing? And if it doesn't hold the standard, the guy, you should quickly fire him. Why? Because if someone not holds your expectations, it's not likely that they will change, because most people will change very slowly, if at all. No, if we know what our job is, the manager always makes sure that we also know what is involved in doing it well. In other words, the performance requirements are clear. He shows us what he expects. So make it clear. This is basically, and this is a great strategy, I would say, a great principle to hold your people accountable for. If you can't tell me what they think needs to happen, you don't have a problem. You're just whining. A problem only exists when there's a discrepancy between what is actually happening and what you want to happen. So I work with a colleague of mine, and he repeatedly stated problems I couldn't solve on my own because I'm not having expertise in programming, especially in JavaScript and doing websites. And then they started with Vue and Laravel, you might know it. And I'm like the marketing guy, and he comes first to me because we are sitting across. And it's like, hey man, I have this fucking problem, don't know how to solve it, and yeah, I need to call again the chef, and this is really bothering me because he has no time and I don't want to bother him. And I told him, and this is the interesting part. This principle, I said him the first time I said this to him. He was like, okay, wait. This is my problem. Okay, I know it specifically, but I don't know how I want it to be. So the problem was basically that the data structure doesn't represent. He couldn't call, I would say, a function. If you're into program, you might know what I'm talking about. He couldn't call it function because the directory was a different one. So this was the problem. How he wanted it, hey, to find the right directory. Okay, then once he knew what this was, he could okay, then what's the name of the directory? And he was like, yeah, this. Then I said, yeah, and how can you make it happen? He was like, and then 5 minutes later he just googled it or did something else, and then he said, I got it. So most people whine about the problems, and the most interesting part of it was that I needed to tell this principle him over and over again for like several months until it got integrated into him. And the greatest problem was then he was honored by the chef, the boss, about being so independently. And I'm like, yeah, man, no problem. His point was to catch me performing well. So it's like a great manager is on the lookout for great performance, because it's like momentum. Hey, if you catch someone doing great job, he's more likely to do it once again. It's a great book. I could recommend in the book summary. Yeah, really great of me. Don't Shoot the Dog. It's a book I want to read. So it's basically, hey, if you want your dog to do things again and again, don't blame him or don't give him negative reinforcement, because this will work only for the moment. Positive reinforcement will work over a period of time. So catch people doing something well, and then they will do it even better the next time. Let everyone be at their best. Catch him when he's doing well. The better your people are, the higher you move up. Because, okay, if we really want to consider, hey, I want to hire people that are better than me. I want to leave my ego behind. I want to say, hey, I know this guy is greater than me than I could ever do it. And because of this, I hire him. Not because he's not better than me. And this is the most problem. We are in our ego and like, yeah, I want to be the best. But if you have people that are better than you, you can aim even higher because you have more people that are doing a greater job. Because he's very specific about what I've done well. I know he means it, and his knowledge about what I'm doing. And third, he's consistent. So to give an effective compliment, so there's basically a formula I once learned of giving an effective compliment, and the most fundamental part of it is say something other people wouldn't notice, or be specific about something. Then frame it with an because. So, hey, I really like your vibe. I told a friend of mine, and she answered, "Oh, really? Oh, no, it's just common." No. The what? No, I didn't told her this. I told her that it's really strong of her that she in the midst of everything changed, because this is not so common. She was like really bitchy when she was in high school, and she told me this. And then someone pointed it out to her that this is not really great, and she was like, "Really? Um, I never looked at it this way, but you're right." And then she apologized to like everyone she bitched around to, and I told her, "Hey, this is really great, because most of people aren't really um, are can't even go to the step of acknowledging this shortfall." And she was like, "Ah, no, no." And then I did the third step, and this is otherwise she wouldn't take this compliment for herself. I said to her, "What? How did you came to this? Why did you really um, really ask for, hey, sorry, ask, or told them out, hey, what came to this change?" I asked. And then you saw it in her face, how she lighted up, and how she was thrilled about how she ranted about what she did, and then how great everything was at the end. And without these three steps, without finding something specific, without giving her reasoning myself about stating this compliment, and without asking her question how she could possibly do it, she wouldn't have taken this compliment. And this is, I think, a really bad habit we people have, is not getting the compliment at all. So be specific, but also if you notice they won't take your compliment in, not only be specific, be intelligent about giving compliments to get people reinforce their good behavior. A- Uh, And another. Hey, Juli! Nein. Wait a minute. And another important factor is the time. So when do you want to compliment somebody? In the midst of action, right when it's over. So, but with me, he only responded to what concerns me, not what's currently bothering him, and I give him credit for that. So, if you're working for someone and he constantly complains about things that does not even correlate a bit to your job, like I was working for someone, I don't want to name names, and it was like I was talking to him about marketing and stuff, and he just complained the whole time about how horrible this is, about programming and so on. But I needed from him a decision in this marketing space, and he always turned the conversation to what's bothering him about this other topic that does not even have the slightest to do with what we were talking about, what this meeting was about. And the worst problem was we did not even came to a conclusion of this meeting because of this thing he was talking about. And I was like, what's this shit? So really, people take it highly if you never ever talk about things that don't bother him. The one minute manager doesn't need to devote much of his time to me anymore, and if he does, it's in goal setting. So your outcome, I would say, as a manager of one person is first, like he states in his book, to not having devote any time at all to his people, because they work on their own. They learn to working on their own. And this is the problem. What school teaches us. School teaches us you get specific tasks on things you should specifically do. So we need so many managers that tell everyone what he needs to do, that they don't have that nobody thinks on their own. So get people to think on their own to get their goals, and then set your goals together. In precise word, said what bothered him. So really be precise if you're telling somebody what bothers you. Not say, hey, this marketing campaign didn't work out. No, hey, I'm really bothered that you didn't told me earlier that this marketing campaign we started ran into problems, and now we're here 5,000 euros deep down in the shit, and this is what bothers me, not that the marketing campaign didn't work out. First of all, he usually criticized me immediately when I did something wrong. Since he listens exactly what I did wrong, he knew he had the inside track, and I couldn't afford sloppiness. Since he doesn't criticize me personally but only my behavior, it's easier for me not to get defensive. So you really don't want to first criticize, get on a personal level at all. And the second thing is, like I told earlier, immediately. Immediately after someone did something good or bad, as soon as possible, reward or criticize them, I would say. And this is like a principle when you teach your dog to do anything. What do you do with your dog? Hey, sit down. And the dog sits down. You give him instantly a leckerli, something to eat, because then the neurons in his brain fires up. So you do this with your people as well. Every moment I devote to my employees is invested profitably. This is a belief every freaking manager or chef, CEO needs to have. If you don't have this belief, and I speak out of experience, it's a pain in the ass. I really need to really need to consider. Having here from Ray Dalio, one of the greatest investors of all time. He has a huge corporation, and he's like 1 to 50 ratio. Every hour I spend with an employee, he spends 50 hours working with me. Okay. I had a chef, I would say a boss. We were making a startup, a corporation. I don't know how to state it, but we called it a startup, but it wasn't really a startup. I saw him maybe once a month for like 3 hours. It was like, okay, maybe he's better in managing people than a hedge fund manager that does it for over 30 years, and he's only 35. So, or he simply doesn't have this belief that every moment he devotes to his employees is invested profitably. So you never know, but it's really and this was our demise of the company. This was the root cause, and the problem is, this is something I stated like 3 months after we founded the company, and the problem was 1.5 years after the company went down, I repeated myself like every fucking day, and no one really seemed to care about it. So yeah. And in the end, everyone said, "Hey, the most problem is that we didn't spend any time together." Oh, you don't say, Sherlock. Most companies spend 50 to 70% of their money on employees' salary. The fact is, by far, most companies spend more time and money on maintaining their buildings and machines than they do to nurturing and developing their workforce. So, if we spend so much money on our employees' salary, why do we devote so much money for our machines and not our employees? Hey, how can I otherwise get results if not through people? Really get if you're creating a relationship with your people, that's not just you give me and I give you. So it's a quid pro quo. but actually a relationship where you to thrive on giving each other as much as you possibly can. This is where the magic will happen. I assume that most managers already know what they expect from their employees, but they don't bother to tell their employees in a way they can understand. So we really need to consider that communication is key, but we communicate in so many different types of forms. So studies have shown that communication is only 7% of what I say. Over 30% is, or 23%, 27% is how I say it, how I use my tonality of voice, and over 50% is body language. So actually, to get through somebody in a telling manner, use your whole body. But some people are not like me. I'm a visual guy. I like body language. Some people I got to know are more likely to get their information, and because of this, I have these three PDFs, and also not to need to rewatch if you're just remembering something I said here. Hey, oh, this was great. I need to rewatch, and no, you have most insights here on a sheet of paper you can download. Most Some people are like, hey, I need to read it to get it. So communicate this properly through text and voice and speech and through visuals. So people will really get what you expect from them, and continually. Never assume that they know, because most people forget. And yes, feedback is a breakfast for champions. So this is great, because I had to say I had the problem that I didn't want any feedback, because hey, it could be bad, but especially bad feedback gets you to grow. And if you want to be a champion, you need to fail miserably thousands of times. What did Michael Jordan do? He throws every single day 500 free throws also, but he failed more than anybody else. Because of this, he's the best in the world. But in all seriousness, Einstein said that he never stuffed his brain with stuff that he could look up somewhere else. So, if you really, I really don't get it why we having like we have in our school system so many stuff we can only look up. Hey, if I want to know the exact biogenetic code of some microbiome that lives somewhere of a bacterium or something, hey, I can Google it. If I want to know the exact location of the Dead Sea or so, hey, I can Google it. Why should I stuff my brain with such useless thing? Hey, it's for me. Hey, okay, everything I need to remember, I remember, but only the stuff that really that I personally need to do when a moment happens. Like let's say the power of report. What's report, for example? Report basically means I like this person that's in front of me. Okay, how to create a report? This is something I want to know by myself, that I can use this stuff in a moment when I really need it. But this is something I can look up. You have three choices as a manager. First, hire experts. They're hard to find and cost a lot of money. Second, if you can't find any experts, you can hire someone who has the assets to be an expert. That leaves the third option, pray. So this is what I really saw in the beginning of my entrepreneurial life, I would say, that really many entrepreneurs that were doing good stuff hire cheap people, but these cheap people, they don't develop. they don't see people that are have the assets to become an expert. And if they find someone like me that has really great assets of doing like YouTube and all this kind of stuff of becoming an expert, they want to burn people, and people that are have the assets, they know, hey, they are much different than other ones, and then they don't need to settle. And then once they got enough knowledge, they will be somewhere else. Take a minute, look at your goals, look at your performance, see if your behavior matches your goals. So it's like business 101. What you can measure, you can improve. Always look at your goals and look at your performance, and then act upon what's missing. As simple as it sounds. If you want to raise someone to be an expert, you absolutely have to catch them doing something well. It's like if a teacher repeats himself and you notice, hey, repeats himself over and over again, you don't go, oh, this is bored, he just repeats himself. No. Go, oh my god, he repeats himself. So this kind of thing is really fucking important to get it inside of your brain and never leave. In the beginning, you must always try to create situations that warrant 1 minute praise. If managers would just intervene earlier, they could always deal with one behavior at a time, and the person receiving the reprimand wouldn't be devastated. She would be able to hear the feedback. So, what's like this is like we like how we men function most of the time. So not only men but also women. The problem is the stacking. So there was one negative thing a person did or said once to you. Let's go in a relationship. Um, you, your significant other tells something you really don't like you're my janitor, or you have to do this, and you're like, yo man, just shut the fuck up, but you keep silent. And then these things, these tiny things stack on each other, and you unleash it on him. And if you're a man, you know how your woman is on this, and she notices, she knows everything. And if you're a woman, you know that you made him responsible for things that weren't even in this kind of manner right now, but those came up because they were part of the stacking. And this is really devastating, because if you receive all of it at once, it's much harder than to get this tiny bits of, hey, this wasn't great, let's work on it. Oh, this wasn't also great, let's work on it too. For a period of time, it's first of all a bit hard to really state it out once it's there, but it won't stack. So if you destroy all these stackings that happen in your relationships with people by simply assessing when they are starting to come to the surface, it's really easy to navigate through. And if you notice, this didn't work out earlier, that he changed, wait, people need a lot of time to change. You also, I know one thing for sure: if you're tough when you're asserting behavior and you build the person up after that, it works. So if you really want to get people to behave a certain way, hey, this was bad, but if you build a person up, so if you're like, hey, it's like another tactics, like the sandwich tactic. You say something good, then you say something bad, and then you say something good again. You could go to this person who's performing poorly in his job recently. You can tell, hey, man, I really like your performance when you started. So it's really great. You're a really great asset. But I noticed that your performance levels right now are currently struggling. is there something we could help you with there? And then he tells you about problems and so on. And then you said, okay, great. It's really an honor for me to that you could get this feedback so greatly because you're just a strong person. So good, bad, good. So the person will be built up before and afterwards. And most of this sounds like manipulation, but we get later to it. He knew that people needed what people needed. People needed to be around people that are like them. So that are liked on. So sorry, misread. Yeah, we all are people, and there's a really interesting experiment that was once conducted. And the syndrome was called the failure to thrive syndrome. They had a baby and gave the baby no physical love. They gave it food and everything it needed, but no physical love. After few time amount, like I think at weeks or months, the baby died because we as people need to be around people that love us, that like us. Otherwise, we would die. Love is our competitive advantage. I'm not my behavior. I have my behavior. So this is really something that we need to fill down in our in in our brain too. So you notice this book is about managing others, but if you haven't these principles upon your own, this is what my whole YouTube channel is about: managing yourself to become the person that helped himself first. So you're not your behavior. You have your behavior. It's your job to change it for the better. The problem is we have so many behaviors that got us from our surroundings that are not good anymore, or that were once effective but now harm us. We want to disrupt and destroy them and change it. So this is why I create this YouTube channel, because most of the people are like, yeah, let's manage others, but they can't even manage themselves effectively. I'm like, hey man, you're a manager of 500 people, of let's say only 10. You're managing 10 people, but you're eating like shit. You're doing irresponsible stuff. You people notice, and because they notice, you will most likely get the same effect. They would do most likely the same thing. So first, management and managing people is to give it to yourself. How can I, if I don't walk my talk, how could I expect from somebody else to walk how I talk? When you touch, don't take anything. Don't touch the people you're guiding unless you give them something: affirmation, support, encouragement, whatever. So a touch is really important, and we in our society we don't touch each other. But if you touch someone, make it if you give, not if you receive or take anything, because then our nervous system will remember this touch. So I could go broad about it, but it's really about neuroscience. And to state it in a easy way, it's like a habit, a pattern of enjoyment. If you give someone and he links up this specific touch of you, that you touching him in his brain, it's all about subconsciousness. This is something we don't even really think about it. Our subconscious is like, oh, when he touches me and I receive something, I feel great. So your brain is constantly in a lookout for his touch, and then you need to do something great to actually get his touch. You get it, and then dopamine releases like every time he sees this person to get the touch, and dopamine not actually releases when you get the reward, but on the process of getting the reward. So now let's talk about manipulation, because most of the thing this book states is, oh man, this is manipulating people. But manipulation is getting people to do something they either don't see through or don't agree with. That's why it's important that everyone knows what you're doing and why from the beginning. It's like I'm freaking open about it, and it's most likely that I tell most of my employees to watch all of these videos to really, and especially this video, because it's about managing and how my philosophy of management is, and what is based upon. So yeah, be radically open about it, because you want them to see through it, and if they can't deal with it, look for the next one. Because hey, I either would want to be fired from a job a person think I'm not capable of doing, than suffering for several years in a job where they also think I'm not capable of doing. So this is better because I can move with my life on. Goal sets behavior in motions. Consequences keep our behavior going. So if we set a goal, we get into momentum. But if we link them also up with consequences, we keep going even if it's hard. So let's say my goal, this is a great story I can tell about. I had a goal like stop smoking hookah, and I told this to my friend, and I said this is my goal for this year, not doing it at all. So I told him, I was intelligent by this time, really. I need to humble myself a bit. Uh, I said to him, hey, but if I do, I have to invite you to 5 gourmet meals. It's like 4,000 euros. By this time, these 5 gourmet meals would cost me, and they are like 1 million, because I don't had any income by this time. So it's really hard to actually have to invite him to it. So I had the goal, but also the consequence, and no problem at all following through. By sharing his knowledge in this eager and open way, he had obviously saved a lot of time. So if we really share our knowledge, if we give our employees the best things we have, it's most likely that they will either that they will stay by you, but if they leave, hey, you have a great reputation you can get from them, because hey, they will tell other people, and like attracts like, that working by you is really great. So if they use the stuff to be a competitor of yours, so what? You can get another great employee and develop him in even a short amount of time. If you like this video, please leave a like. The secret link is flowfulfunnel.com/free minus pd free golden minus nugget minus pdf. I think there should also be a link in the description as well. So have a great time and see you next week.